Greetings everyone, Slurzer466 here, and in today's video we're looking at some of the best off-meta decks to climb with in Wild. We start with Soul Demon Hunter by Arcade Tales. Now Soul Demon Hunter was a pretty strong deck in Standard before we entered the new year, but the reason it's seeing some play in Wild is this specific build is really against mages running secrets as well as the aggro Paladin as well, so that's why you're seeing double Horde Operative, Eater of Secrets, Lower Theb. You've also got Bad Luck Albatross to help against the Reno decks, so with those techs in place for the current meta, you'll basically just do the Soul Demon Hunter things, build a ton of attack with your hero, and then slam your opponent for a lot of damage. Looking at Druid, we have two lists here, the first being a Jade Druid list by M3S. So looking at this list, it's basically just the Jade Druid that we had before the Forged in the Barrens expansion. However, we have a little bit of an upgrade. For our 4-drop, we now have the Injured Marauder, 4 mana 5/10 taunt, deals 6 damage to this minion, and this just helps have an even better chance against aggro than it was previously. We've also got a Malygos Druid list. Now this list is a bit of a tricky one to pilot, and it is running Celestial Alignment. This is 7 mana, set each player to 0 mana crystals, set the cost of cards in all hands and decks to 1. So essentially after you do this, you need to start ramping your way back up in mana again, though you don't necessarily need to get back up to 10 mana because everything costs 1, but it is a very fast way to get the Malygos Druid combo off. Is this better than what we had before? I don't have a strong opinion, but it does run both Malygos, so we got Malygos and Malygos the Spellweaver, so definitely something to give a try to see if this is an improvement or not over what we used to have with Malygos Druid. Looking at Mage, we have Reno Quest Mage. So this specific list is running a couple new toys that Mage got. One of those being Ruined Orb, so 2 mana deal 2 damage, discover a spell. Kind of like having a second Primordial Glyph in a way. It is also running Refreshing Spring Water, which is a great card to just cycle through your deck with. Now this isn't necessarily a heavy spell or a heavy minion based list, so you're not always going to get maximum value off this, but quite often you may. Varden Dawngrasp, 4 mana 3/3 Battlecry, freeze all enemy minions. If they are already frozen, deal 4 damage to them instead. This is just a powerhouse of a control mage card. You don't necessarily have a frozen board on your opponent's end all the time, but maybe just being able to freeze a couple things with Ray of Frost is enough. Maybe you discover some more freezing spells to get some extra value off the Varden Dawngrasp. Otherwise, it's just a solid list to play around with and maybe something you'd have a bit of fun with. Looking at Paladin, we have what is called Lynessa Paladin. So this isn't Libram Paladin. It kind of runs in a similar style though, where a lot of the cards that you're aiming at your minions, you're getting them back off Lynessa. But this deck is also kind of running the Death and Taxes plan, where you've got the Firewatch Posts, you've got the Nearby Web Lords, you've got the Colder Arms to pull them out. But this is a bit of more of a mid-range list compared to the more aggro one that you've been seeing, and definitely something that you'd want to try out. Also, who doesn't want to play a deck with a Mindbreaker in it? That's just genius. The other Paladin list I want to share is Even Paladin. Now, as you can see, I'm missing a few cards here, but basically this is one of the better attempts at Even Paladin that I've seen. The lists are typically all over the place right now, but what you'll notice as a common theme is you've got the double Firewatch Post, Nearby Weblord, you pull them off the Colder Arms, so you've got that similarity, But otherwise, you just get more value in the late game, mid to late game, I should say, with your Corpse Takers, your Hammer of the Naru, and your Sunkeeper Turim. Looking at Rogue, we've got Reno Rogue. Now, this list is actually much better than I was expecting. I tested this list over about 10 games and had a 75% win rate. It's a tempo Reno Rogue, so it behaves very similarly to tempo Rogue that you saw in Standard before the Forge in the Barren expansion came into play. However, it's got a bunch of really nice tools to help give it some extra value. You've got Yoink in here, discover hero power and set its cost to 0, swap back after 2 uses. The Rogue hero power isn't particularly useful in this deck, so quite often it's fine to have it go away for a couple turns. You've got the efficient Octobot, which reduces the cost of all cards in your hand by 1 with its Frenzy ability. And you could either hope it sticks, or you could give it Rush with your Broomstick. You've also got Wicked Stab, which is 2 damage at the beginning of the game, 4 damage at 5 mana, and 6 damage when you're up at 10. You've got your Kazakus Golem Shaper. There aren't that many good 4-drops in Rogue, so why not run this? You can get some great value off those custom golems. But then what really throws this deck over the edge is the Field Contact. This is essentially a Gadgetzan Auctioneer for 3 mana. You've got so many Battle Cry and combo cards in this deck that you can just cycle through really quickly, discount everything with the Octobot, and just get a ton of value, lock out your opponent with Loatheb to seal your win. Looking at Shaman, we have Reno Shaman by White Delight. So White Delight is a Shaman specialist, so this would be an updated version of his Reno Shaman list. Now, having a look at some of the more interesting inclusions here, you do have the Toxfin Firemancer Flogel combo, which is probably going to be a staple in most Control Shaman decks, whether they're Murloc or not. You've also got the Death's Head Cultist, which is a nice new addition, 3 mana 2/4 taunt with Death Rattle, restore 4 health to your hero. You'll see a lot of Death Rattles in this list, such as Death Lord, and other Death Lord friends like White Eyes, Kaitut, because this is a N'Zoth list, so the N'Zoth brings back all of the Death Rattle minions. Plague of Murlocs is a great tech against Big Priest, but otherwise you can kind of give it for a spin yourself. As you can see here, it's a N'Zoth Shudderwock build of Reno Shaman. There's also a Skulking Geist in here, which is actually pretty good in the meta, especially with all those pesky Death and Taxes Paladins floating around. So if you like to play Reno Shaman, this would be a great list to pick up. Looking at Warlock, the only Warlock list I have here is a Control Warlock by Corbett. So it's running all your typical big demons that we're used to seeing in Warlock. You cheat them out with your Void Caller and your Skull. But you've also got the Firewatch Post, you've got the Bad Luck Albatross to mess up your opponent's decks. And otherwise, just a different type of Warlock that you might want to try out. Finishing off with Warrior, we have Reno Warrior. Now, this is basically more of a mid-range tempo take on Reno Warrior. So you've also got things like Dead Man Hand in here for value, but essentially you're a tempo deck. So you just kind of control things in the early game with your risky skippers, and cycle your deck with Town Crier. Not cycle, but get rush minions out of your deck with Town Crier. In the mid game, you've got things like Kargath Blade Fist, your Sword Eater, Ringmaster Watley to draw. And then your late game is to finish out with Dr. Boom Mad Genius. You've got Deathwing Mad Aspect for clearing, Dragon Queen Alexstrasza. Keep in mind the dragons cost 0 now, not 1. This got reverted. Rattlegore is great for value, and then N'Zoth the Corruptor brings all those Death Rattle minions back that are in this deck, including all the various Rattlegores that may have died. So really fun list that you might want to give a try. And the last deck we're going to look at is an ETC Charge Warrior. So this is a hybrid between the ETC OTK and the Charge OTK. So the ETC part is where you've got a friendly rush minion attacks deal 2 damage to the enemy hero. So you'll notice that this deck is not running Broomstick, but it is running it's running Crab Riders. So basically what you can do is you can get your Crab Riders out. You can also damage the ETC, summon copies of it with the Bloodsworn Mercenary, and do a whole pile of damage. Some other methods though are instead to get out a big minion, maybe a cheaply discounted Blood Boil Brute as an example, damage it somehow, maybe inner rage it, give it charge, that's the big one because charge has been reverted, so now it's a 3 mana, give a friendly minion +2 attack and charge, and then get some extra copies of that with Bloodsworn Mercenary. So pretty quirky list, but if these are the sort of decks you like to play, this would be a fun way to take on playing some ETC Charge Warrior. So if you'd like to try any of the lists that you saw in this video, you'll find all the deck codes in the description below. If you want to help support this channel, you can click the subscribe button, click the notification bell, and until next time, hope to see you again.